Here is a book, World Order by Henry Kissinger. It is a New York Times bestseller book. I will read some of the good points which I learned from this book. To the question of what is his presidency had made him most proud, President Truman replied that we totally defeated our enemies and then brought them back to the community of nations. I would like to think that only America would have done this. Conscious of America's vast power, Truman took pride over all in its human and democratic values. The 17th century negotiators who crafted the Peace of Westphalia did not think they were laying the foundation for global applicable system. Its version of universal order considered Islam destined to span over the realm of war, as it called all regions populated by unbelievers, until the whole world was a unitary system brought into harmony by the message of Prophet Muhammad. As Sultan Mahmud the Conqueror admonished the Italian practicing on early 15th century, you are 20 states. You are in disagreement among yourself. There must be only one empire, one faith, and one sovereignty in the world. In the American view of the world order, peace and balance would occur naturally. Once other nations were giving the same principle, say in their own governance, that Americans had in theirs. The task of foreign policy was thus not so much the pursuit of specifically American interest as the cultivation of shared principles. During my first visit to Beijing, undertaken in 1971 to re-establish contact with China after 2 decades of hostility, I mentioned that to the American delegation. China was a land of mystery. This is interesting. For more than 1,000 years, in the mainstream of modern European statecraft order has derived from equilibrium and identity, from resistance to universal rule. China had its emperors, Islam had its caliph, Europe had the Holy Roman Emperor. The third revolutionary upheaval, that of the Protestant Reformation, was initiated when Martin Luther posted 95 theses on the door of Castle Church in 1517, insisting on the individual direct relationship with God, hence individual conscious, not established orthodoxy, was put forward as the key to salvation. The Protestant Reformation destroyed the concept of world order, sustained by the two swords of papacy and empire. Christianity was split and at war with itself. Bismarck rejected the proposition that power could be restrained by superior principles. His famous maxims gave voice to the conviction that security could be achieved only by the correct evaluation of the component of powers. World War I was welcomed by enthusiastic publics and euphoric leaders who envisioned a short, glorious war for limited aim. In the event, it killed more than 25 millions. Islam's rapid advance across 3 continents provided proof to the faithful of its divine mission. Impelled by the conviction that its spread would unite and bring peace to all humanity, Islam was at once a religion, a multi-ethnic superstate, and a new world order. In the late 19th century, the Ottoman Empire entered the European balance as a provisional member of Westphalian international order, but as a declining power, not entirely in control of its fate. A way to be considered in establishing the European equilibrium but not a full partner in designing it. Anwar al-Sadat of Egypt dared to look beyond this confrontation and make peace with Israel on the basis of Egypt's national interest in 1979. He paid for his statesmanship with his life, assassinated 2 years later by radicalized Islamists in the Egyptian military. To Saudi Arabia, the conflict with Iran is existential. It involves the survival of the monarchy, the legitimacy of the state. An upheaval in Saudi Arabia would carry profound repercussion for the world economy, the future of the Muslim world, and world peace. The conflict now unfolding in both religious and geopolitical. A Sunni bloc consists of Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, and to some extent Egypt and Turkey, confronts a bloc led by Shia Iran, which backs Bashar al-Assad portion of Syria, Nur al-Maliki central and southern Iraq, and Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. The Sunni blocs support uprising in Syria against Assad. So, when Iran, an accepted state in the Westphalian system, turned itself into an advocate for radical Islam after the Ayatollah Khomeini revolution, the Middle East regional order was turned upside down. As Mehdi, Khomeiни's first appointee for the post of Prime Minister, told the New York Times, what was wanted was a government of the type seen during the 10 years of the rule of the Prophet Muhammad and the first 5 years under his son-in-law Ali, the first Shiite Imam. Now, this is the world order in Hindu cosmology. World order in Hindu cosmology was governed by immutable cycles of an almost vast scale millions of years long. Kingdom would fall and the universe would be destroyed, but it would be recreated and new kingdoms would rise again. When each wave of invaders arrived, Persians in 6th century BC, Alexander in the 4th century BC, Arabs in the 8th century, Turks and Afghans in the 11th and 12th centuries, Mongols in the 13th and 14th centuries, Mughals in the 16th century, and various European nations followed shortly. They were fitted into this timeless matrix. The Hindu classic, the Bhagavad Gita, framed these spirited tests in terms of relationship between morality and power. Britain reawakened in India the consciousness that it was a single entity under foreign rule and inspired a sentiment that to defeat the foreign influence it had to constitute itself as a nation. Britain's impact on India was thus similar to Napoleon's on a Germany, whose multiple states had been treated previously only as a geographic, not a national entity. Whatever policy you may lay down, the art of conducting the foreign affairs of a country lies in finding out what is most advantageous to the country. India will be drawn closer to those countries which are friendly and cooperative to her, while India appears mostly concerned with China as a peer competitor. India has devoted few military resources to China than to Pakistan, which, if not a peer competitor, has been a strategic preoccupation for New Delhi. About China, what the West conceived of as a process of enlightenment was treated in China as an assault. In the early stages of the Cultural Revolution, China, by its own choice, had only 4 ambassadors around the world and was in confrontation with both nuclear superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Within less than a generation, China advanced to become the second largest economy in the world. To speed up this dramatic transformation, China entered international institutions and accepted the established rules of world order. So here is the most important sentence of this book. The United States and China are both indispensable pillars of world order. Americans hold that every problem has a solution. Chinese thinks that each solution is an admission ticket to a new set of problems. China has believed that it was unique and largely contained within its own reality. A Harvard study has shown that in 15 cases in history where a rising and an established power interacted, 10 ended in war. On the American side, the fear is that a growing China will systematically undermine American preeminence and thus American security. Significant groups view China by analogy to the Soviet Union in civil war. We live in a wondrous time in which the strong is weak because of his scruples and the weak grows strong because of his audacity. Americans, a love of freedom is the predominant feature which marks and distinguishes the whole. Americans' favorable geography and vast resources facilitated a perception that foreign policy was an optional activity. Secure behind two great oceans, the United States was in position to treat foreign policy as a series of episodic challenges rather than as a permanent enterprise. America would, in the words of Roosevelt's favorite proverb, speak softly and carry a big stick. Technology is a new world order. With the number of devices connected to the internet now roughly 10 billions and projected to rise to 50 billions by 2020 as Internet of Things or an Internet of Everything. The commander of US Cyber Command has predicted that the next war will begin in cyberspace. Recent studies suggest that adult Americans spend on average roughly half of their working hours in front of a screen, and the figure continues to grow. A society is fortunate if its leader can occasionally rise to the level of wisdom.